Most Christians today can say that they've sat in their congregations and watched a beautiful highlight reel of their church's latest short-term missions trip. But did you know that the short-term missions of today are a relatively new phenomenon? The information age has completely revolutionized short-term missions. With information about different cultures and world travel accessible to almost everyone, short-term missions have completely changed. According to my research, 25 years ago, a short-term missions trip consisted of a 2 to 4 year commitment to a location overseas. The short-term missions of today range anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks, and at locations both domestic and overseas. So what exactly is mission? The Latin theological term Missio Dei can be translated as mission of God, which means God's mission in the world and God's activity in bringing all of humanity back to Him. It consists of everything that God is doing to ready the nations for His purposes. God is earnestly in pursuit of every nation and people group, and it's important for us to keep that in mind when we're thinking about short-term missions, because it allows us to understand that not every short-term mission is God's mission. In order to effectively partner with what God is doing and fulfill His purposes on the earth, short-term missions have to have three main components. The first is partner with local missionaries at the short-term mission site. The second is train all participants. And the third is focus on God's mission. So the first component is to partner with local missionaries. According to an article from the Stillman Library, from the Standards of Excellence in Short-Term Missions, people who fail to partner with local missionaries neglect to partner with what God's already doing in a nation. Why neglect the people that are going to continue the mission when your trip is over? Inadequate communication with local missionaries and local churches doesn't help anyone. And it also can lead to burdening the host community and various unnecessary projects. In this article, one of the examples given was that a pastor in Mexico had had his church painted 6 times by 6 different missionaries. The article also stated that another congregation in El Salvador had had a solid wall built in the middle of a children's soccer field. So it's obvious to see that partnering with the true needs of the local community and of what the local missionary is doing is of utmost importance. So moving to the second element is training all participants. According to another article from the Stillman Library called Short-Term Missions and Good Intentions, it talked about how there were many untrained participants going on short-term missions trips, and they lacked cultural sensitivity due to them not being trained, which resulted in actually harming the communities that they were supposed to reach and the communities they were supposed to help. One of the examples in the article was that a particular short-term missions group stood in the center square and handed out $50 bills to local families, despite the various objections of a local congregation. It's cultural insensitivity like this that makes training of utmost importance for short-term missions to truly be fulfilling God's mission. And now that we've talked about the importance of training, we can move on to the third and final component of effective short-term missions, which is focusing on God's mission. God is always readying the nations and people. There are many agencies and churches who have lost focus on God's mission and have decided to focus on discipleship of participants. Although discipleship is an important byproduct and just a great result of short-term missions, it shouldn't be its driving force. What's important is to focus on what God is doing in those nations and to evangelize and share the gospel and have people come to Jesus. that's what God's doing in the world. Discipleship should just be a byproduct, not the focus. So in conclusion, not every short-term mission is a God mission. In order to partner with God to fulfill his purposes in the world, a short-term mission has to do these three things. It has to partner with local missionaries, has to train all participants, and it has to focus on God's mission. So the next time you're in church and somebody invites you on a short-term missions trip, you can ask them, are you partnering, are you trained, and are you focused? Thank you.